Let's be honest. For many older travellers, the Louvre sounds less like a relaxing museum visit and more like an endurance test. Miles of walking, huge crowds, endless staircases, and the quiet fear of wondering, will I actually enjoy this or will I just end up exhausted? And honestly, that concern is completely understandable. The Louvre is enormous, but here's the good news. You absolutely do not need to sit in the entire museum to have an unforgettable experience here. In fact, the secret to enjoying the Louvre as an older person is doing less, more comfortably. Hi everyone, welcome back to my second video. I'm Andrew and welcome to my channel Easy Travel with Andrew. I research famous attractions from a perspective of older travellers, slower paced visitors and anyone who wants to explore the world without unnecessary stress or exhaustion. And today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to enjoy the Louvre comfortably, calmly and most importantly realistically. Part 1. The biggest mistake that tourists make. The biggest mistake that people make at the Louvre is trying to see everything. Please don't even attempt to do that. If you try to walk every single gallery, you'll spend the entire day on your feet, and most people become overwhelmed long before they've truly enjoyed anything. So the smarter approach then, just choose a few highlights. 2 comfortable hours inside the Louvre is often far more enjoyable than 6 exhausting hours trying to rush around endless rooms. And trust me, you are not failing at the Louvre by pacing yourself, you're simply visiting it wisely. Part 2. The ticket strategy that will save you energy. Now let's protect your energy before you even leave your hotel. First, you need to go online and book your tickets in advance through the official Louvre website. Make sure you choose a timed entry ticket. That's extremely important because the lines outside the pyramid can become long and exhausting, especially during summer and weekends. And here's something very reassuring for travellers with mobility concerns. Visitors with disabilities, along with one companion, can receive free admission and priority access to the museum. That means dramatically less standing and a much calmer arrival experience. Just remember to bring any official disability documentation or a parking badge from your home country if it's applicable. And honestly, reducing unnecessary waiting before you even enter the museum will make a tremendous difference later on in the day. Part 3. The best entrance for older travellers. Now this tip may save you a huge amount of stress, so listen closely. Most tourists enter through the famous glass pyramid, which you will have seen on the screen on one of the clips. And yes, it is very, very beautiful. But it's also the busiest entrance, it's often crowded and fully exposed to the weather. So for older travellers, the easier option is entering through the Carousel du Louvre shopping centre entrance at 99 Rue de Rivoli, and you'll have to pronounce my pronunciation there. This entrance is indoors, calmer, climate controlled and has elevators and escalators available. Many experienced travellers say it feels dramatically less chaotic than approaching through the main outdoor crowds at the pyramid. And once you arrive, simply speak to the security staff if you need assistance. They are used to helping older visitors and guests with mobility limitations. Part 4. The Louvre is more accessible than people think. Now, I want to reassure you about something important. The Louvre is actually far more accessible than people expect. There are elevators, ramps, accessible restrooms, benches throughout many of the galleries, and there are staff available to help if you feel unsure about where to go. And once you are inside the main lobby beneath the pyramid, you can visit the assistance desk. The museum can lend wheelchairs, folding stools, walking canes, and even canes with built-in seats free of charge in exchange for identification. And honestly, that cane seat can be incredibly useful if you need regular breaks while admiring the artwork. And one very more important detail for you, if you bring your own walking stick or cane, make sure it has a rubber tip on it. Metal-tipped canes are not permitted because they can damage your historic floors, so that's very important for you to remember. Now, let's be realistic. The Louvre is still a huge historic building. Some elevators can be difficult to spot at first, but if you ever feel lost or overwhelmed, simply ask the staff for help. Many visitors online specifically mention how kind and how helpful the Louvre staff can be with older travellers. And importantly, you don't have to figure this giant museum out alone. Part 5. The Comfort First Louvre Strategy. Now, here is what I genuinely believe is the best way for older travellers to experience the Louvre. Forget trying to cover the entire museum. That won't work. Instead, pick one wing, a few highlights, and move slowly. That's it. For most visitors, I would recommend visiting the Mona Lisa, the Winged Victory of Samothrace, Venus de Milo, and perhaps one or two quieter galleries nearby. That alone will create a wonderful Louvre experience without turning the day into an exhausting marathon. And here's something many travellers discover. Some of the quieter galleries are actually far more enjoyable than the famous crowded rooms. You'll often find peaceful benches, beautiful ceilings, quieter artwork, and space to simply sit and absorb the atmosphere, which is often much more relaxing than rushing from masterpiece to masterpiece. Part 6. The honest truth about the Mona Lisa. Now, let's talk honestly about the Mona Lisa. Yes, it is worth seeing, but the room can become extremely crowded, noisy, and overwhelming. So here's my advice. Don't pressure yourself to fight all your way to the very front. You can enjoy the moment perfectly well from further back. And if you have mobility concerns, speak to the staff nearby. Visitors with reduced mobility are sometimes able to access more comfortable viewing areas with staff assistance. That's why it's so important to speak to the staff who are on hand. Once you've seen the Mona Lisa, move on. Because honestly, some of the most magical parts of the Louvre are in the quieter galleries that most tourists rush straight past. Part 7. Where to rest and recharge. This may be the most important advice in the entire video. Protect your energy. The Louvre is not a race. Sit often, take breaks, get yourself a coffee, rest your legs, treat the museum less like a checklist and more like an experience. If you want a quieter and more peaceful part of the museum, many experienced visitors recommend and again you'll have to excuse my pronunciation, they recommend the Richelieu wing. It contains beautiful sculpture courtyards filled with natural light and importantly, plenty of permanent seating areas. Honestly, these quieter spaces can become the most memorable part of the entire visit. And remember, accessible restrooms and cafes are available throughout the whole museum complex. There's absolutely no need to rush. Part 8. One very important warning. Now there's one thing I want you to know before you leave this video and move on and watch something else. Once you exit the museum galleries, re-entry is generally not allowed on the same ticket. So before you leave, remember, use the restroom one last time, take a final break, go and get yourself some water or a coffee and make sure you are truly ready to go. Because many tired visitors will accidentally leave earlier than they intended to and then they unfortunately realize they cannot get back inside afterwards. So just make sure you're ready to go when you do decide to leave. Part 9, my final honest advice for you. So after researching this carefully and looking at the website and reviews on TripAdvisor and other websites, here's my final honest advice for you. The Louvre can absolutely be enjoyable for older travellers, but you do need to approach it differently from your younger tourist friends. Do less, move slower, use elevators, make sure you sit often, ask for help when you need it, and give yourself permission to take your time. Because the goal here is not to conquer the Louvre, it's to enjoy it, isn't it? It's to go there and have a good time. And standing quietly in one beautiful gallery in Paris without feeling exhausted is far more meaningful than rushing through all the rooms which you'll barely remember when you think back. Remember, as I said in the last video, travel doesn't stop at a certain age, it just becomes more meaningful. Thank you for watching this video. This is my second video now on YouTube and part 2 of the Paris series. If you haven't watched it already, go on my channel and look for the Eiffel Tower episode. I'm sure you'll find that very useful. And I really hope you appreciate subscribing to this channel if you've enjoyed the video and if you'd like to keep up to date with any other videos I put out. How about in the comments you let me know some other attractions you want me to cover, and I'll do my very best to get onto them. Thank you for watching. Andrew.